There are four mistakes I see yoga teachers making that instantly ruins the quality of their videos. But it's not due to their lack of expensive studios or camera equipment. You can produce really high quality videos in any space if you know what mistakes to avoid. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what they are, how I fix them for myself and my clients, and how you can do the same too. So the first mistake to avoid is not taking the time to consider the mess in your space and how it impacts the viewer. So what I see quite a lot is people with a lot of clutter in their background, things that distract the viewer and take attention away from you, the subject. And I learned this the hard way when I received some feedback on my videos about 3 years into my YouTube journey. And someone said to me, "Your videos look unprofessional because they're messy." I was filming outside, but there was just lots of leaves and moss and dirt on the ground, and it just looked really unkept and unprofessional. At the time, I didn't pick up on it until somebody called me out on it. And now, every single time I'm filming outside, doesn't matter if it's in my garden or somewhere else, I will always sweep up and take the time to make sure that the space is tidy. It makes such a big difference. Like, I think you can see here, I'm gonna put up some footage where I was sweeping up the other day. The difference between before, when there was leaves everywhere because it's autumn, and after, where it just looks so much tidier and there's less distraction. The same goes whenever I work with my clients. When I was working with one of my clients, Katie, when she came to me, she needed a space to film in. So we figured out that her living room was going to be the best bet. But she's got quite a lot of furniture, as many people do, in their living rooms. And she had this huge bookshelf, nothing like this. It was massive. And it was a really dark wood. So it was just really commanding the space, and it was commanding all of your attention. And if you're a reader like me, I was distracted by seeing what she had on the shelves. And I said to her, it's likely your viewers are going to have the same experience, and it's going to draw attention away from you, which is not what you want. So she bought these little sliders so that she could put under the feet and slide it out of frame. And I think we can all agree, when we compare these two shots before and after, the second is a drastic improvement. So it might seem like a little detail, but take the time to remove the clutter because your students will get a much more relaxed experience. Just quickly, if you're getting value from this video, I think you'll get even more from my newsletter. It's for yoga teachers who want to teach online. So if that's you, come and join us. Just click the link in the description. Now, when it comes to taking time as well, something that I see a lot of people rushing is setting up their camera and setting up their shot. And this is mistake number 2. Now, earlier this year, I was working with a very well-known photographer and videographer, Alessandro Sigismondi. Maybe you've seen his work. I'll show some on screen now because his work is just incredible. But when I worked with him, I wanted to really shadow him, watch his process, learn everything I could from him. And the first thing I picked up on was how much time he spends setting the shot. I'll be honest, I was kind of stood there like, this guy's taking forever. But then when I compared the shots afterwards, I was like, you can take all the time you want. This really produces results. This makes such a big difference. Just taking the time to consider how well balanced the shot is. If you've got lines in your image, maybe it's the borders of walls or doors, how can you line those up with the frame? Whenever I film outside in my garden now, I have these slabs on the floor, so I always make sure that my mat lines up with the slabs. And this is helpful visually because it just looks better. But it also means that the next time I go and set up, I know exactly where to put my mat. So taking the time to consider how you frame the shot makes such a big difference, and it's not something to be skipped. You know, don't just put your camera on your tripod, hit record and think, okay, it's done. Give yourself an extra 5 or 10 minutes to really look at what is going on in your frame and how you can work within that frame. Now, when it comes to working with your set, and you can think of your space as a set, as well as taking things out that are of no use, we can add things in. So this is where it gets quite creative. And you can use props, you can use plants, you could use lights, you could use anything that you have that will add to the set or that will add a little bit of personality. So when I was working with Alessandro, we added in cushions, we added in plants. We just wanted to frame the shot a little bit more and also to add in more colors. And I think we can all agree that this footage looks gorgeous, but it wouldn't have looked as good as it is if we had have just spent 5 minutes setting up and not thought about all of these details. So really take your time to consider the details and most importantly to experiment with your space. When I was working with one of my clients, Layla, she's been trying to improve her filming. And she realized recently that the reason why she hadn't improved is because she'd never given herself the time to experiment. She'd always just been trying to get the job done, but had never actually slowed down long enough to think, how do I improve this? So instead of just filming your next class, actually take the time to experiment with your space. See how you could improve it with a change of camera angles or by adding in different props and how those help balance or harmonize the shot. And this also leads me into mistake number 4, which is not considering color. Color plays such a big role in the way people perceive you, the way people perceive an object, the way something looks, obviously. It can either bring down an image and make it look cool or make something feel warmer and friendlier, which I always love. That's why I always opt for warm lighting. It just feels more welcoming to me. But in addition to the colors in your space, it's also important to consider the colors that you wear. Now I'm gonna put a shot up here of a video that I filmed the other day, and I was wearing purple because my backdrop was green. This is intentional because purple is opposite of green on the color wheel, so they are complementary colors. They normally work really well. Now, the only thing wrong with this shot is it was quite an overcast day, so I'm too dark and it's not easy to see the outline of my body. And this is where you have to consider light when you're working with color. Because if it were quite a bright day, this would have worked really well. But let me show you another class that I filmed in the same space, but I'm wearing white. And again, it was quite an overcast day, so the light wasn't brilliant, but because I'm wearing white, I contrast much better, so it's easier for people to see that outline of my body. So this is why, whenever you are filming, be prepared to change your clothes, because sometimes a change of clothes can make the biggest difference to the class. And this is why it's not always about the most expensive equipment or the fanciest studios. It's about what you have readily available and just taking those extra 5 or 10 minutes to consider how you can improve your shot. Now, when it comes to improving things, there's a few other mistakes that you need to avoid. Things that make teaching yoga online harder than it should be. So if you want to learn how to avoid those mistakes, go and watch this video next.